Hey everyone, it's Frankie-Lou. I'm here today at one of my 4x4 raised beds, preparing to plant up some of my carrots and beets that I've started in my winter sowing. So I thought I'd share that with you because I know that some of you have been waiting for it, and so have I, but this is really the first opportunity that the weather's been decent enough that I can start getting stuff in the ground. I get asked all the time, why are you doing carrots and beets in winter sowing containers when you can direct sow them and they do well? And they do okay for me. I'm in a really dry area here. I can't believe how quickly stuff dries out, which is why I'm a big advocate of using mulch and organic matter. But if I were to plant carrots, just direct sow, I'd be lucky if I saw 25% germination rate. But this is what I see when I do it in a milk jug. Okay, so even though it does add a little bit of extra fussiness, it's worth it to me. There is only one vegetable that Angus will eat consistently, and that is garden grown carrots. So I'm going to do what I can to get a good crop of that because I love to see him eating fresh stuff from the garden. And if it's only going to be one thing, I'm going to grow a ton of that thing. I'm actually going to grow 4 beds worth of carrots and beets, and I'm going to do some nice tall lentils and peas along this as well on the outside. And so, yeah, I like to plant densely. That is one of the ways that I maintain weed control here. I plant so much stuff and it's so close, planted so closely together that there's less opportunity for weeds. There's also less opportunity for the little moisture that does exist to escape because everything is so nice and densely in there. And I can do that because I keep these raised beds so well nourished. I have whole other videos on how to do that with your spring and your fall bed prep. I don't till these beds, okay? I just put organic matter on it twice a year, and trust me, it can, and I crop rotate and companion plant, and those three C's. They help to keep these beds fresh. But enough about that. Let's get to carrots and beets because that's probably what you're here for today. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you first is these are 2 jugs done up of carrots, same variety, planted on the same day. And I don't know if you can tell, but this one is not as far along. And in fact, this is when I would normally, where these are at, is where I'd want to plant it because there's very little root growth down touching the bottom. These ones, for some reason, they were put in the same spot, same variety, planted same day, treated exactly the same way, and look, they're further along. In fact, the roots are a bit tangled at the bottom, so I know that these are going to be gnarly carrots. They're going to taste delicious, so I don't really care. I'm not one of those people who wants everything to look perfect. Big surprise. But these ones are going to be nice. Okay, so maybe these ones will be pickled in nice jars, and these will be the ones that we eat. So first off, what you want to do is I do not remove these from their jugs the day that I open them up. Okay, I opened these up almost a week ago. Okay, these jugs act as really great little humidity traps, and that's one of the reasons why you get such great germination for your carrots and your beets, because they need humidity to get going. And when you remove that lid, all of a sudden all that humidity is going to escape and they will go through a bit of a shock. So I don't think it's really fair to put my babies through 2 shocks in one day. I want to get them adjusted to the humidity that they're going to be facing. So I open them, 5 days probably would be how the minimum I would do to give them that opportunity to adjust before I transplant. Now, once you do open these jugs, because that humidity trap is gone, ensure you're keeping on the watering. I have seen people open their jugs and think that the seedlings can be treated the same way for that week as they were before, where you only have to check them once every 2 weeks or so. They will start to dry out quickly because now they're fully exposed to the elements, okay? And before you go to extract your seedlings from their jugs, make sure you've watered it really well. I've had these soaking, okay? This is sopping wet. And that's going to make my next job easier, which is removing it from the jugs and transplanting these into the garden, okay? So these are well soaked and they're well adjusted to the new humidity. Now I'm going to remove very carefully because I watered it so well. It comes out quite easily. Okay, you still want to be a little gentle. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a planting channel in my garden for them. All right, now I could get really fussy and measure it out, but I think those of you who've watched my videos know I'm not really a measuring out kind of gal. So I'm going to place them. I'm going to make I'm preparing a channel here that's going to be deep enough to hold these. See how nice this soil is? I've done nothing, okay? I can't stress enough how nice my garden beds have become since I stopped tilling them and started just putting compost down twice a year. Like, beautiful soil, okay? Very, very easy to work and very little weeding because I keep organic matter on it throughout the year. If you don't like getting your hands dirty as much as I do, you could, use a nice trowel to do this. And you want to be creating a channel the same depth as the soil in your milk jug, right? Because you're going to be laying them down. We're going to be creating a nice, even, straight row with these. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put my little tag there. I am going to cut these into nice rows that I'm going to lay next to each other. I'll show you that now. I'm going to try not to harm them as much as possible. So I'm going to go in here, cut down. Whoops, had a little bit of a escapee, but that's okay. That's going to start my row. Okay, so I've got my nice little seedlings sitting out here, and I'm going to start laying them next to each other in a nice row. I'm going to continue cutting these and laying them out. I usually cut at the top and sort of tear away a little bit at the bottom. Now with carrots, you don't want to have, like if you want nice straight carrots, you want to do this sooner as opposed to later. But honestly, I wasn't able to. I got to do it when I can do it, right? And that's another reason why I love this method. The milk jug method allows for those real little life emergencies that happens and not being able to get to stuff right away. These are looking really nice. There we go. Okay, so I have a nice straight row here of my carrots. I'm now going to gently move the soil back into place. Now, these ones didn't germinate as densely as the other ones are, so I probably will have to do very little thinning here. I'm going to be watering this right away once I do the rest of my planting here. And I will probably come back and thin in about a week's time after they've recovered a bit. But as these almost did a perfect germination rate, so I won't have to thin very much. And one jug created one really nice row of carrots. Okay, I think that when I go to do this, I will have to be a little bit more like, let's pull this one out. These are far denser. I'm probably gonna get 2 rows out of this in terms of my cutting and tearing apart, and they won't be as pretty because they just went a little bit more than the other ones do. And it's Mother Nature. It's not an exact science, people. Well, you're going to have great crops and then you're going to have not so great crops planted at exactly the same time. It happens all the time, and I just have to kind of go with the flow here and make the most of the ones that do well. I'm not going to plant a row of carrots and a row of carrots and a row of carrots. I have found over the years that interplanting helps when I'm trying to avoid the invariable pests that are going to come to my garden. When I plant things in between each other, it sort of helps to keep from having a whole crop fail because of pests. So I'm going to put some beets down next. These came along really nicely too. I'm really happy with these. I love beets. I can never have enough of them. So that's another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to plant these today. I have another set of jugs that I planted a couple weeks ago that I'm hoping I can plant in another week of carrots and beets. And I'm going to plant these. I'm just going to replant these jugs back up with exactly what I had in them before so that I can plant them in another couple weeks. I like to keep the crop growing. This is one of those crops that we like to eat when they're babies and young. So I like to continue. I do successive planting so that we'll always have nice baby carrots, nice baby beets. The first batch, I try to leave a few so we have some mature ones at the end as well. Okay, so I'm going to cut these up now. I have found that with these carrots and beets beds, that honestly, if I give them a good 6 to 8 inches in between, they'll be fine. Okay, I don't need to put them a full foot apart. As you noticed, I made my tag in advance. This has been such a lifesaver for me to do that and put it in the jug, both because then I can avoid the mystery game if the marker does wash off. I know because there's a tag in there, and honestly, when it comes time to planting, I don't have to go and make a tag. There's one ready to go, right? Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I hope that if you haven't tried it, if you're getting great success with your direct sowing of your carrots and beets, then, don't worry about the milk jug method. But I do have some stuff here that's already a little ways along, and I'll be able to harvest them a little bit faster because I did start them this way, and a much better germination rate, which for me is really important with my dry climate. So as always, please do continue to send me those questions. I love hearing from you and knowing what it is that you'd like to see. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already and you're interested in what we're doing here on the homestead. Also, I hope you take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one.